Hi, my name is Cindy Martinez. I'm from Odessa, Texas. If I recall from my childhood, let's see, I was scared of motorcycles. Every time I would hear a motorcycle sound, I would hide or run because it's just the sound affected me. So I would run, and my brothers and sisters, which there was 9 of us, were afraid. They were making fun of me because I would run or hide from the motorcycle sound. There was this one incident where our street, because we lived in a corner street, we had a paved road with a bunch of stickers, and we were playing out there football, having fun. And then when I heard that sound of the motorcycle, I ran quick to the house, and they were laughing at me so hard, and they asked me if I was okay because I went through like a whole row of stickers, and I didn't get one sticker on me. We always reflect on that, and I thought that was funny too because it just scared me. Then when there was another incident where we're driving on a street, my dad's truck, we're all in the back because back then we could sit on the back of the bed. So we're all talking and having fun. Then I hear a sound of the motorcycle, and I duck. So I hide underneath the bed, and they're all laughing and looking at me like, oh, there goes Cindy again, scared of the motorcycle. With her to the places that my dad would be there for months. And so we would miss most of our school times, and I got to a point where I had to repeat one grade, and I didn't want to, so I told my mom no, I wanted to stay here so I don't have to repeat, because the teachers, they were helpful, and at the same time, I don't know, I don't understand. Remember, I was a kid. You don't think about prejudice, and you don't think about special needs or anything like that. You just grow up just doing schoolwork. The teachers that made an impact on me was the ones that were encouraging, and I can't recall their names, but I was really good in math. Every time we had a math test, I would finish quick, and I was accurate. And I love spelling bee. My favorite was the spelling test all the time. And the bullying part, there was still bullying part, and it was so sad too because you don't think about it's bullying at my age because I had 5 brothers and 2 sisters older than me. So to me, bullying was not something that was out of the ordinary. But then again, my brothers and sisters never bullied me, so that's why when I went to school and I saw other kids being mean to other kids, that kind of upset me and made me mad because it's not their fault. We went throughout the whole time there, just like normal for me. And then there was one incident too where I had a friend where she would wear a wig, and I didn't know it was a wig. To me, it was just I thought it was hair, but everybody said she's wearing a wig, and I was just like, what? Because like I said, I didn't pay attention to stuff like that. And then I asked her one time, I said, hey, you wearing a wig? She goes, yeah. And I said, why? She goes, to shave my hair off because I had lice. And I was like, oh, well, there's nothing wrong with that. So we became friends, and we hung out, and yes. And it's just, it's just mind-boggling that they do that it's always been around. But overall, yeah, until I got to my high school years, then it wasn't as bad as it was in my elementary years. No, it was not. We all hung out together. We had the same, tetherball was the game that we would play, just hang around. Of course, some of us would stay with our own race and other ones didn't. And then sometimes it was multiracial where we all got along. It was majority just white and Mexicans. My mom and my dad really didn't talk about their time for this reason, because they got married when they were really young and then didn't finish school. But of course, my mom would work, when she would work, she would experience racism. That's why she would quit her job and not work. And then my dad, he didn't talk much about his childhood, except preferred to work to help out the parent, because my dad's mom was a single parent. My mom's side, she had both parents. So it was a different environment for each of them, because my dad would have to work to help my grandmother support his siblings. And my mom, well, she had also like 8 siblings, including hers 9. She also, all I remember my mom telling me one time that her and her brother were so hungry that they made tortillas. That they learned how to make tortillas because they were hungry, and I don't know where my grandma was at. She goes, that was the best experience she had, and that's how she learned to make tortillas. And that's the only time she talked about her experience when she was a child. And my dad just about, working. And you don't want to hang out with people that were fake. You don't want to hang out with, that's just me. I didn't hang out with popular, and I didn't hang out with people that were rule breakers, because that's how I was raised. So I was just a loner, and I would have a friend or two, and that's it. My junior high school years were great. I joined the ROTC. That's where I made most of my friends. That's where we did a lot of things then that became what they are now. And that was my best time. When I went to high school, ROTC, into my senior year, where I just started work when I went to school half-time and worked half-time, because I was working at Whataburger, and that was more for me to help out my parents too, because my dad had lost his job when I was in high school, and so I was helping out also. So I had a car, and I didn't have a license, but I was careful at that point, because I didn't want to. It wasn't as strict as it is now when I was driving around my car without a license. And working at Whataburger was the best time of my life, where I learned to, be efficient, caring, your money, how to take care of your money, how to help out other people. In my opinion, be a better person. So that was my time. The grocery store. And that's where I had met my husband in my senior year. And that's where I started just work, nothing but work. The 80s, growing up in the 80s was awesome. The music was great. MTV had play the top 10 music videos and top 10 performers. And then there was VH1, which they would have pop-up videos, which I like that one, because they give you facts about behind video making of that song and how they, did it, and behind the scenes. And I love that one. That was my favorite. But the music was good. Madonna was my favorite, was popular. Prince, I remember Prince, Michael Jackson, Whitney Houston. We moved to Colorado in the 90s, because I had my daughter in the 90s, and we moved to Colorado, and we lived 15 years there. And so we went through the 90s over there, and it was a different environment over there in Colorado. So every time we would travel back to Texas to visit my family, I would learn more music, but more Tejano music. But when we were in the Colorado, it was more English music. Songs that really stood out for me was like the Four Non Blondes, What's Going On, and other music. I really didn't focus as much, because all I did was work. There was so expensive to live. But me and husband prevailed. The 90s, the only thing on the 90s was the Columbine shooting, where I was working in a warehouse, and it was shocking. Everybody was shocked and surprised that was happening, and how we all thought, school is supposed to be the safe haven for the students, and it came out to be the worst history for us in Colorado. I just remember crying and getting my kids and praying that they were all good and okay. And never in my wildest dreams would I would have thought that would happen. What made them go to those extremes to do that to their fellow students? And I just thank God that it wasn't the schools that my kids went, or the daycare that my kids went, because I can't imagine what the parents were going through. Hearing stories about what caused them to do what they did was because of their medication they were on, and but like I said, I I really try not to. I just listen to the both sides of the ends, and through the Gulf War that impacted my family because my husband he was a reservist and he had about a year left to finish his contract, and of course they called him to active duty, and that was when my daughter was born in the 90s, and 6 months they shipped him off, and it affected me because I was so used to having him around that when he was gone for 9 months, it was hard for adjustment for me and my daughter because I didn't want him to miss all the infant years talking and walking. And when he would had time to call, we would worry about the situation where he was at and what was going on, because every time you hear the news, there was like chemical warfare, and I just try not to dwell too much on that because I didn't want to worry too much about what he was going through. And my parents stayed with me, which I was grateful for. My husband prepared me because he goes, this is going to be the war where we're going to have to be out to help out because of what's happening. So in a way I was prepared because he, informed me. So I was just glad that that they were able to go and do something about Saddam Hussein. Like a big bully like that needed to be stopped. It just sucks that it's the Americans that always have to do that. But my husband, he did his job, and of course he was in one of the ships that got hit by a mine, and I did not know about it. And he had told me, but I didn't put two to two together because I didn't want to think the worst. During those times, all the soldiers that were gone, majority had like divorce. There were divorcees. It was a bunch. When he came back, he didn't talk much about it, but he also didn't, as I recall, don't think it affected him that much either, like PTSD or anything, because if it did, I would have noticed it. But then again, I was working and taking care of kid, and he was working. So, but then that's when we moved to Colorado. Oh yeah, we were in Colorado with the Y2K. It was a big deal. At that time, I wasn't listening to music. I was listening more to about a religion station where he talked about how music affected people, and get ready for the Y2K because, this was going to happen and this was going to happen, to prepare yourselves and everything. And I feel like it was just blown out of proportion, for my opinion, because it was like, if it happens, it happens. There's no control. When we went into the 2000s, nothing happened. Well, George Bush was president, and remember, I was still living in Colorado, which is a Democratic state. No matter who's president, they're going to do what they want to do. So to me, it's like, as long as there's jobs and people are doing their jobs and work and stuff, because, Bill Clinton was in president, warehouse jobs were popular back then. Manufacturing was popular back. That's what I mean. Manufacturing was popular because it was American people making American parts. But after George Bush won, all those jobs went away, and they went to other countries because it was cheaper. The president, because the laws they make and everything, because at that time, like I said, Bill Clinton was creating jobs, manufacturing jobs, local jobs, nationwide jobs in America. And then when Bush came in office, I guess what he was trying to change and everything, all those jobs went overseas, went over Mexico, went over to Asia, India. I mean, where it was cheaper labor. So they didn't want to pay the American people money here because they went over there. We struggled in Colorado, and manufacturing was slowly dying away because he took over, and that caused me to switch my job to like pharmacy, something that's gonna make a difference when I move back to Texas. And my husband, he was still in manufacturing and he was still building parts. Since I had to change jobs so many times because I was thinking about the future, about if I moved back to Texas, what I could become here. Because, in Texas, where I'm from, Odessa, wasn't much jobs opportunity except being a cashier, being retail, or a grocery, or a gas station attendant. There wasn't much manufacturing here. Only oil business were huge, but women were not accepted to work there. So even that was a big factor where it made me change to what I decided to become, was a pharmacy technician. When 9/11 hit us, it was life-changing for everybody. I was working at a graveyard shift, working for IBM, making toners, laser toners. And I had just got off of work and going home at 8 o'clock, and I was in bed when my husband calls me and tells me, "Hey, did you hear there are planes falling from the sky?" And I'm like, "What?" Because I was still half asleep when he was telling me. And he says, "Yeah, did you not hear that the World Trade Center got hit by an airplane?" And I was like, "What?" So I got up and turned on the TV, and sure enough, all this was happening. My daughter was in school. My son was with me because he was in pre-K, or kindergarten. And I didn't take him to school because at that moment, all that was scary because we didn't know what was going to happen. What we as Americans were going to do, because, I mean, we got hit in our own backyard. That's kind of scary because we're thinking, what the heck is happening? My daughter was in school. We had to go pick her up because they were letting kids out. And then we stayed the whole entire time watching TV and stressing out and worrying. And I called my family and just talking about it, like, what the heck? How did this happen? Why did this happen? How could this happen? And it was on, for a few days, because we didn't go to work either at that time. They closed they closed the manufacturing at that time because they didn't know what was going to happen. So we didn't go to work for a day or two. After that, yes, a lot of laws changed, airports changed, but it did change drastically where people were able to go back then, go up there before the loved one was able to go on the airplane, and that got stopped. So now we can't wait with our loved ones up there till they get on board. They changed that. What we carry changed. Also going to the airport, what we could take, because then all that changed where they had to have U.S. Marshals on the airplane to protect them, people that were flying. And you just hear stories when people get on the airplanes, you were not supposed to take this, you're not supposed to take that, and people would still take it, and I understand why people just don't understand, hey, you can't be doing this, but people do what they want to do, I guess. And of course, yes, everybody was leery around other people. I mean, what's so sad is because the bad guys that hit us, and the innocents, they were treated like it was their fault. Like, how dare their religion do that to them, and it caused problems where even their Muslims churches were targeted, And it was just so sad how we as human beings affect that, do that. You can't do that. It's so wrong. But that's how it all changed too. The biggest thing that hit me in my time was losing my dad in 2006 from a heart attack. That was another thing that he had a stroke a few years ago, but I lived in Colorado. I came down to the hospital and he looked okay. He was, getting stronger. But in 2006, after Thanksgiving, he died of a heart attack. And he was 67, and it just hit us so hard. I mean, it hit all my family members so hard because my dad, he was our knight in shining armor for us sisters and for my brothers. He was an example of how to be a good man. And it was so heartbreaking. My mom depended on my dad and had her companion for, they were going to be married together for 50 years and he didn't make it. We all had to adjust living without my dad and going through life and helping out my mom and being there for her. And then a few years later, my brother passed away. He was second oldest, and that hit my mom so hard. I mean, my mom was sad and upset because my dad died, but when my brother passed away, it hit her really hard my mom was a strong woman. She never cried. And boy, my brother, after we buried our brother, she cried. She cried, and I have never seen my mom cry like that before. And my mom was the one that was, she was slowly losing her mind. She was getting dementia and living alone, and it was tough because my brother was the one, taking care of her finances and watching her finances and taking care of her. And it was just another thing that we had to go through, and it was a roller coaster ride. And then, of course, we knew our daughter was a lesbian, and that also triggered a life altering for me. I myself had to adjust to it, and I was there was one time that I was upset and mad because thinking, what did I do? How did this happen? What did I do wrong? And it took an adjustment for me to understand that, like she said, she was born this way. It's not like she wanted to be this way. She was born this way. And slowly she was making me see her way. I went to my parents' house and talked to mom and everything, and we talked. That's when I realized, look what you're doing, and you're not real. And I wasn't realizing I was doing that. So when I came back, I apologized to her. And this is how you were raised, and finally it kicked in. I'm sorry that I was making it hard for her, being growing up. Slowly she was affecting my mind. We were both growing up, and we were both growing into this situation. That was another big thing in my life where I was like, and I told my family members too, like, if you have a problem with a lesbian, my daughter being a lesbian or something, you know what? Yeah, I have her back. I don't need you in my life. You're going to be against her. Because you know what? Their lives already hard enough, and we don't need to make it any harder. I overall had to be the one changing. I'm the one that had to I had to do it for myself and for her. I was happy that she finally found the one that she loved. But she doesn't understand. We were raised like that. We were raised like boy and girl, boy and girl. We were raised to think like that. We're not neutral gender, or non-binary stuff or anything like that. I'm learning all this from her, but at this time now, at this era, that she doesn't understand. She keeps correcting me. Mom, you need to, you can't say that only men can do this. Women can do it too. And it's like, yes, daughter, I did grow up also being feminist. Like, oh, we can do it too. But she doesn't understand that we had to prove ourselves as females that we can do it. It's just a constant learning curve with us. So, COVID. Remember COVID? Big COVID happened in 2020, where they made changes where we couldn't be around other people. We had to wear masks, and that that year, and it was killing people left and right. And my husband's cousin passed away from COVID too, and she was the first patient that died here in Odessa. And it was scary, to think, wow, there's this virus going around that's killing people. I end up getting COVID because I work in the pharmacy. And working in the pharmacy during COVID was pretty tough because we would have to wear masks, we had to wear gloves, and we were constantly dispensing Paxlovid and Molnupiravir. It would help people with COVID. I personally got COVID, and it was, it hit me so hard where I don't know how I got it. I mean, I know that I was working one time and I was putting away prescriptions, and I couldn't, it wore me out, like couldn't breathe very well. And I told my boss, I said, I'm not feeling good at all. I'm like, I can't catch my breath. So I told him, I'm leaving. It was the worst that I could ever feel. I mean, it hit me so hard in my chest, I had trouble breathing. I had trouble walking from my room to the kitchen and back. It would exhaust me, and it would be hard breathing. So I ended up calling my doctor and told her that I tested positive, because at that time the doctors didn't want you to go in. The doctors didn't want to see people with COVID. They wanted you to go to the hospital right away. Well, I decided to call my doctor. It affected my lungs. I couldn't sleep well. I couldn't sleep comfortable. I couldn't, I would sleep like 1 or 2 hours, get up and do my breathing treatment, stay up, then go back and take a nap, then get up. I was like that for almost 10 days. Ended up giving it to my husband, which has MS, and I was worried about him. But thankfully, it didn't affect him as bad as it affected me. It's still affecting me even to this day. It changed the world. It opened up the people's eyes. We were not prepared because it really affected the economy, and it really almost took down the economy, American economy, because not only the American economy but the whole world economy, because the workers, they had to stop working because unemployment went up. People lost their jobs. Even, to this day, we're still struggling to keep up with demand before COVID hit us. And it's just still affecting the economy. It's still around, and it's not as bad as it was in 2020, but it is still around, and it's going to be something probably that'll be here forever. Well, technology really also is a big factor in on news and how people are living and what people are doing. Social media is the worst. My opinion, it is the worst to have. Bullies themselves. There's no sympathy. There's no compassion, but there's just judgment. Yeah, you learn a few things like the hack videos, do your own hack and stuff. This is the time also that George Floyd, when that happened with George Floyd, and the camera was there and people recording it, and there was facts there. That's facts there. People were recording, people were showing what was happening, and that also made a big change. I remember him being on the news, Ronnie King getting beat up by the police officers and everything was extreme. It was always extreme, to my opinion. It's always extreme when police officers take in account that they need to be brutal with any kind of human beings. Listening and hearing him, how he got beat up, and his famous words were, can we all just get along? And it's so true, because it's so sad how we all don't change. And then with George Floyd happening, it just got worse, but it was more public because of the social media, cameras, phones made a big difference where you can record and show what's happening and everything. During Rodney King, it wasn't. It was just the media, the helicopters recording all this. My opinion is he's too damn old. Okay, Trump was too damn old. Biden is too damn old to be president. They're old money. You know, they're old money, and they're old men. Okay, that they don't change. That they have set their ways. America has to change. Government has to change. I think we need to change it to the younger generation, where hopefully they'll make a better change, because then it needs to be, government needs to change. We need a change. The only thing that I'm so happy that changed was the Me Too movement with Harvey Weinstein, or was it? Yeah. Because women were being abused. And then with Jeffrey Epstein also. I mean, I'm glad that, like I said, there's pros and cons, and some pros are good, like that happening, that it's out in the open. It's happening. Look at Puff Daddy. I don't care. I mean, you're white or black. I don't care. It's open. It's there. So, I mean, like I said, what they're doing is wrong. It's breaking the law. It's doing something that, that a simple person doing it goes to jail. Well, they should themselves go to jail too. But because back then money was power, and money is still power, has power, that it has to change. I mean, it has to change. We choose. And who chooses? The people that are in charge, that has the money. Well, I'm 54, and I myself have health issues like diabetes, and I have had diabetes. I've been with diabetes since in my 30s. And I have depression, because my depression hit me when a few years. And I own this and my shortcomings. And that's what people need to do. They need to own their own, their own wrongdoings. You can't blame somebody for something. You can't, because that person made you do it. We all know from right to wrong. We as an adults have to make the change, and willing to change to make it a better world, because we have to adapt to change. I don't care how old you are. And the younger generation is our future, but we also need to teach them